Right guys, today we're going to be looking at your diet and health lesson, that is lesson B1.2. This part only focuses on a balanced diet, but you do need to make sure that you understand that there are also inherited factors that can affect your weight and also your health. Right, so let's get started. Looking at a balanced diet, some of you will have remembered doing this in year 8. And again, diet is both the food and the drink that you consume, and of course it is a very important part of keeping you healthy. Balanced diet means eating all the right types of food in the right amount so the body gets the nutrients it needs. And again, this is really important. We do need a little bit of almost every nutrient every single day to ensure that we stay healthy. There are 7 nutrients that we need in a balanced diet, and it is really important that you guys remember these, and that you also know why they are important in our diet. So we've got carbohydrates, and they are usually quite starchy foods like breads, rice. We've got proteins, which you get from meat and cheese, fats, vitamins, from your vegetables and your fruits, minerals, again vegetables and fruits, water, very important, and also fiber. And you find that there's fiber in a lot of vegetables. There's also fiber in some cereals that you have in the morning, like Weetabix, for example. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go and have a look at the function of each of these 7 nutrients. So the function means what their job is. So what we've got on the left hand side here are those 7 nutrients, and over here there are 7 functions. So let's have a look. Let's start off with fats. Fats are needed for energy, and also to make some cell membranes. And remember that cells are found in every single part of your body, so it's a really important job fats do. So not all fats are bad. Proteins, again, are absolutely essential, found in cheese and milk and meat, and you need them for growth and repair. So for example, very young children would need a lot more protein in their diet than somebody that was perhaps a little bit older, because they are busy growing all of the time. Carbohydrates we need for energy. Fiber, very important. Keep your bowels working properly, making sure that you've got a very healthy large intestine, and again, water is crucial. You need at least 8 glasses of water a day, and you need that for chemical reactions to occur within your body, and also for transport. So in other words, to get the other vitamins and minerals and nutrients from one part of your body to another, so it'll make up a large part of your blood. The minerals, you need minerals in small amounts to make body chemicals, and again they are found in fruits and vegetables, and your vitamins needed in small amounts for your cells to work properly. Now what I'd like for you to do is just to make sure that you have got a good set of notes. Can you please stop the video now, and just make sure that you have got all of this written down. A good way for you perhaps to revise this is by just making a set of cards with the nutrients on and with the functions and trying to match them up. Right, let's move on. Now again, the foods that make up a balanced diet, you can see there are some examples over there. This is just like a pie chart. A is food that we need for energy, so that is really your carbohydrates, which include your sugars, and some fats. Fruits and vegetables, dairy foods, milk, cheese, etc., yogurts. Food for growth, so that is going to be your protein-rich foods, like fish, eggs, cheeses, that sort of things. And then you get your high energy foods, which are going to be like chocolates, high energy drinks, things like that. And you can see you only need a very, very small portion of them you probably need more fruit and vegetables than you do anything else. So fruit and vegetables and carbohydrates and fats, you do need quite a lot of every day. So if that was your plate and all of your day's food was on there, that's how it should be broken up. Right, so let's start off with the food that we need for energy. Carbohydrates. And they say it should make up approximately 30% of the daily diet. I think that very often in our modern day diets we actually eat a lot more carbohydrates than we actually need. Pastas, cereals, breads, crisps, chips, rice, all of those sorts of things make up carbohydrates, so they're quite starchy. Fruits and vegetables, we eat far too little of these. It should in fact make up about 30% of our diet, and you'd find simple carbohydrates in there. So sugars, for example, that's what makes your apples sweet, or grapes, etc. That would be those sugars in there. But you can see how important they are because they provide vitamins, minerals and fiber, as well as some sugars. So they are really very, very important. C is our dairy products. About 15% of our diet should consist of dairy products. We need them for both protein and calcium. And as you can see, it's cheese, cream, eggs, anything that's dairy related. Next thing we're going to look at is food for growth, and they are going to be your proteins. Protein should make up approximately 20% of our diet, so that would be things like your meats. People who are vegetarian would make this up through eating things like nuts, and of course there's a lot of soya products as well that vegetarians would use to make up this 20%. Remember, proteins are very important in order to keep us healthy by way of growth and repair. Next is our high energy foods, again things that are very high in sugar and fats and that we probably eat far too much of. It should only make up about 5% of a balanced daily diet, but I think that sometimes we tend to go a little bit overboard with these, and this again is where your health problems will come in. Okay, so once again, how can eating too little or too much affect your health? If you don't eat enough, it means you don't get the nutrients that you need, and you suffer with things like anemia, scurvy. There's lots of different types of diseases linked to it, and we call these sorts of diseases linked to malnutrition. And what that word mal means is bad. So it is bad nutrition. In other words, it's lacking in a lot of the nutrients that we need. Eating too much means that the body consumes more energy than it uses, and so the excess starts to build up. So we will be eating a lot more of those high energy foods that give us energy, and we won't be burning it off, so that fat just gets stored. Alright, people who are overweight for their height are said to be obese, and currently there are 15% of 15-year-olds obese. I actually think that number is quite conservative. I think that you might find that number is quite a bit higher than that. Obesity is a serious health problem because it can affect so many different things, heart, blood pressure, joint problems, and of course it can also be linked to diseases like diabetes. Please be aware that this is something they may ask you in your exam. Is about the health effects of having a bad diet. Okay, so what we've got over here is 5 deficiency diseases. And it's caused by something missing in the diet. So what we're going to start off with is anemia. And people who are anemic lack iron in their blood, and so very often they might be really tired, have no energy, and that is why it's because they need more iron in their diet. Osteoporosis. Osteo, anything with that word OS, osteo means bones, and that is a deficiency in calcium. Very often elderly women in particular suffer from this deficiency of calcium, and therefore they get osteoporosis. Scurvy, a well-known sailor's disease, and that's because there's a deficiency in vitamin C, and of course sailors many years ago couldn't have lots of fresh fruits and vegetables on the ships with them all of the time. They were away for long periods of time, and so they used to suffer something called scurvy. Kwashiorkor is something that we see happening in poor parts of the world, and it's a deficiency in protein, and it sometimes causes young children to have very big bellies, big pot bellies, and that is called Kwashiorkor. And rickets again is a deficiency in vitamin D. So there you go, guys. There's all of the diseases and the deficiencies. Again, please make a note of these. They don't often come up in the exam, but it might well be that they come up in that long 6-mark question. So it will help you just to have an idea of what these different diseases are. Well, that's it for this part of the lesson, and I'll see you next time.